This is episode number 64 with Kristel De Groot. Welcome to the Glow Life podcast. I'm your host, Martina Fink, holistic health and beauty coach, Glow Camp retreat host, and eco lifestyle lover. I'm here to inspire you to live a glowing life day in and day out because you deserve the best life ever. Every week, I'll be interviewing international influencers, wellness pioneers, and health and beauty experts who are using their special gifts to make a difference in the world so you can feel healthy, confident, empowered, and beautiful. Okay, let's glow, girl. Hello, beauties. Welcome back to the Glow Life podcast. I am back home. Our trip in the Caribbean is over, which is sad, but it's also exciting because we can get back to normal life. And back home in Switzerland, it's almost spring. It's so beautiful. When I look out the window, everything is already pretty green and there are lots of flowers everywhere. And I'm really excited to get back into this completely different stage of nature. So after 2 months of going to the beach every day in the Caribbean, of mostly blue skies and really hot temperatures as well, I'm also craving some greens. My eyes are craving green grass and green trees and leaves and all of that. So I'm really happy for that. And also the air is just so fresh. I really, even though I love warm weather and the beach, I also really like the fresh air when you open the window and it's like not freezing, but it's fresh, and you can breathe in that fresh air and it feels so great and wakes you up in the morning for sure. So I came home and got back to my urban garden, which I love. And you can certainly find more about that on Instagram in the next couple of weeks and months because I love it. So I've come back to that garden and actually all the spinach plants have been growing. So came home, made my green smoothie with my own spinach, and lots of the herbs are already ready as well. And I got ourselves some new ones for the ones that didn't survive winter. So really excited to get this new gardening journey started. What I do in gardening, and that's something I've learned from my parents, is that I garden with the moon whenever possible. Now, you may know that the moon influences us humans and it also influences the planet. I mean, from, the tides that the water moves with the moon. So therefore, plants are impacted by that as well. And there are several apps that you can find. My parents actually have a paper calendar with all the moon details. And you can also Google moon calendar for gardening or something like that. So basically what this calendar tells you is when is a good time to plant what. Sometimes it's good for fruit trees. Sometimes it's good, or fruit trees and plants. Sometimes it's good for root vegetables. Sometimes it's good to plant seeds. And there are days where you shouldn't do anything because the energy is off. So it's something that has just added so much meaning to gardening and something that I really love. So I highly recommend you look into this if you're into gardening and if you're loving having an urban garden and just growing your own stuff, because it just tastes a million times better than what you buy from the store or the farmer's market. Another thing that's super important when it comes to gardening is the soil. Now, obviously where I grew up in the countryside, the soil was just there. But now that I have my own terrace and our things set up outside, I always have to buy soil. And I always buy organic soil because the quality of the soil is so important for the quality of the vegetable that's then going to grow. I mean, I know it makes so much sense. It's so logical, but still there's so much soil out there that you can buy in the stores that isn't organic. So make sure you take a look at that and make sure it's organic whenever possible. So yeah, really excited about this new green energy that's growing on our balcony or our terrace outside. We got some rosemary, thyme, chives, spinach, mint already, and I'm gonna plant some zucchinis. I heard that tomorrow is a good day to plant new vegetables and seeds. So I'm going to plant more stuff tomorrow, which is exciting. And before we get started, I want to share my top glow tip of the week with you. And that obviously has to do with nature. I want you to connect with nature today in whatever way you want. It doesn't matter if you want to go for a walk, if you just want to go outside, take some deep breath into your lower belly, which if you are outside right now, you can just pause this episode and do it right now. Take 2-3 deep breaths. It makes such a difference. Maybe you want to sit by the river or by the lake and listen to the water, or maybe you want to buy some fresh herbs for your balcony or even for your kitchen if you don't have access to a balcony or a terrace outside. So whatever that is, connect yourself with nature. Make sure that you have that connection to our beautiful Mother Earth that is out there growing so many amazing things for us to have a good life. So that's what I want you to do today or this week. If you can do it every day, even better. I also wanted to let you know that we have a new retreat coming up in October this year. It's going to happen in Greece, October 20th to 25th. We have our own private villa right next to the beach, and this is for the woman who is ready and certainly needs some next level pampering, soulful self-care, loving sisterhood, and wants to activate her inside out glow and just feel amazing in her body, and wants to work on her confidence. Usually the women who come on my retreats are already living some sort of glowing life, but not fully, and then sometimes holding back on doing the things that they really want to do and just getting, sometimes overwhelmed with work and everything that's going on at work and in quote unquote real life, which we all live a real life, but you can live your glowing version of that. So if you're feeling like you're super exhausted, you constantly worry about what others think of you, you are a people pleaser, which I totally used to be. If you're basically living your life pretending that your life is perfect, but really on the inside it's falling apart, or you're sad and frustrated, or even maybe confused about what you want to do with your life. Or if you're in a quarter life crisis maybe, and you don't really know what to do with your life right now that could fulfill you on a deeper level, we're going to talk about all of these things in the retreat. We're going to make sure you feel inspired, you feel loved, you are going to work on your self-confidence, you're going to get to know yourself better and your desires. We're going to have daily self-care routines and rituals to make sure you can build a foundation for when you go home, you can continue having that beautiful self-care practice and really connect with yourself every single day on a deeper level. So that will help you take better decisions moving forward and decide what's best for you, decide what you want to do with your career, decide how you want to change your relationship, and how you want to show up for yourself. Because in the end, you only have one life. And if you're living this life on 50% or 20% of your potential, you're really missing out. And there's so much that you can experience and learn, and so many people that you can meet and build beautiful connections with, that it's just the most beautiful feeling in the world. So you're going to stay at a private villa. We have daily life-changing workshops, daily self-love and wellness rituals. We have some sort of spa relaxing experience. There will be an Intuit celebration party on the last day, which I love the most. This is the most exciting piece of the retreat. And we'll have a private retreat photographer as well, who's going to capture the best moments and flower crowns and so much more. It's going to be a beautiful event. It's going to be a time where you get to meet your new soul sister tribe and meet with new women from around the world. I'm literally attracting the most beautiful women from all over the world. So and I have more surprises, of course, prepared for you too. By the way, by then I will be a certified meditation teacher, so we'll certainly work a lot on meditation as well, because in meditation we can really break through so many blocks and set ourselves up for success and just really get to know ourselves better and work through emotions and all of these things, which is so, so powerful. There are a couple of early bird bonuses now. Early bird pricing is up until the end of this month. Then the price is going up. You can go to martinafink.com/Greece to check out all the details about the retreat and all the bonuses. You can actually save up to $2,097 when you sign up in the early bird phase. So go check that out, martinafink.com/Greece. And if you have any questions, just send me a DM on Instagram or on Facebook, or send me an email or contact me via website, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that. I cannot wait to hopefully see you all in Greece later this year at this beautiful event to, just have the best time together. And now let's get started with Kristel De Groot. Kristel De Groot is a plant-based health coach and the founder and CMO of youre.com. After her boyfriend Michael was diagnosed with cancer at age 24, she started mixing different superfoods together to rebuild his immunity and energy levels. Together with orthomolecular nutritionists, they created a line of 7 functional superfood and plant protein mixes. With a 100% transparent supply chain and a beautiful giving back model, they quickly scaled the company in Europe and in the United States with offices in LA and Berlin. In today's episode, we talk about what superfoods really are and how they can benefit your health and energy levels, why transparency in the food supply chain is so important, how to add more fruits and vegetables into your diet when 9 out of 10 people don't eat any of them, how to strengthen your immunity with superfoods, why personal growth always comes with feeling uncomfortable, and so much more. And you can find everything we talk about today in the show notes at martinafink.com/podcast/64. Welcome, Kristel. So happy to have you on the show today and talk to you about all things superfoods.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yes. So tell us how your superfood brand, Your Super, started from scratch. Like, how did you start building this brand?
I started together with Michael, my co-founder, and it actually all started when he was diagnosed with cancer at age 24. He went through chemo and everything, and he was just, his whole immunity and energy was just completely gone. And I was this complete superfood freak. I was like kind of like a health nut with my mom and aunt who were nutritionists, and I basically had this kitchen cabinet full with all different, like from greens, chia seeds, maca, lucuma, like all the different things, like 30, 40 different bags. And I started mixing things up and just giving it to him just to make it easier, because I tried taking him to Whole Foods and kind of like tell him, hey, you need to buy this, 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 and this. And he was like, no, it's too complicated. Just don't want to do it. So that's when I had an empty jar, put everything in there. And that's kind of how we, like, where the origin came from, because we realized that it was not just him that, found it complicated and didn't know what to do, but there were so many other people who had the same problem. And he just started to feel so much better. Like, his energy got better. He just felt healthier overall. And then there's this crazy stat that 9 out of 10 people just don't eat enough fruit and vegetables every single day. And superfoods are just amazing that way, because we always say they have the convenience of a supplement, but they're naturally dried whole food powders. And that's kind of how we got started and said, hey, we want to bring this to more people. So then together with my mom and aunt, we sat down together. So they're orthomolecular nutritionists. And we developed this line of 7 functional superfood mixes. So we have all have their own function. So we have mixes for greens, for beauty, plant protein, energy. And they're just really easy to use. So you can just add them to your smoothie, yogurt, snacks, oatmeal, like even savory things, sprinkle them over your, like avocado toast. It's like whatever you like.
Amazing. And was Michael able to heal completely with the support of superfoods?
I mean, he went for traditional treatment,
Mm-hmm.
but Superfoods was really, especially after that. That I mean, you know, like you go for the traditional, like you have surgery, you have either chemo, he had, and then normally it's kind of done. But then really, I mean, your whole body is destroyed.
Right.
You're anything but healthy, and that was for him like such. I mean, he was so young; he was 24, and just really a moment of like, okay, you know, like you cannot control everything in your life, but you know, you can control what you eat. So he really, Superfoods was really like, I put him on a juice cleanse, like, and just he started drinking a lot of smoothies and integrating this green superfoods every single day into his diet. Over time, while he was sick, I actually turned plant-based 100%, and then he over time also just turned plant-based. We're both like vegan now, and I think it's really, yeah, it was kind of like this moment where we realized that like, I mean, you are what you eat.
Yeah, you 100% are what you eat. It's so powerful. We're currently traveling, and it's another, like, when you're back home, you're used to what you're eating, how you go to the supermarket, always buy these fruits and vegetables. But when you actually get out of home and you travel and you see other people, and, we walk through the supermarket here in the Caribbean, and it's like completely different. And when I see what people put in their shopping baskets, it's like it blows my mind. And it doesn't surprise me that, what is in their basket is just a reflection of how their bodies look like. It's so crazy.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And I think, I mean, even being here in Venice, in LA, right? It's like so easy to get like stuck in your little bubble
Mm-hmm.
of what, you know, of what is happening, and like it's like, and the people around you, they might eat healthy, and like then you think that everyone like lives that way, but that's just not the reality. I think it's especially like even if you're at airports where you're just surrounded by like just, you know, kind of everyone and like a whole wide variety of people.
Yes.
I have the same. I look around and I'm like, oh, people still drink Coke. I totally like I totally forgot that, you know. So I have this like I have this weird image in my head of how I think people eat, and it's just like it's just a good reminder of that there's just still so much work and education to be done, and I think that's, you know, where we're both very passionate about, and we always say that's like we don't just sell the superfood mixes, but it's really about the whole education around it. 60% of our customers actually never used superfoods before. So we really grab them by the hand. We offer a free 10-minute call once they purchase our products where they can ask anything. Most products come with a lot of free recipe guides. So there's so much education that comes with it to kind of like show people how easy healthy eating can be, because I think there's like such a barrier and people just don't know what to do anymore, and they kind of forgot of how to cook. You know, like we get questions like, oh, how do I make an oatmeal? And I'm just like, well, you know, it's just like oats, maybe a couple raisins, like maybe you want to have a couple cashews in there, I don't know, add one of our mixes, some water, cook it up, done, right? So it can be so simple, and kind of like bringing that knowledge back to the people again.
Yeah, it's crazy when you're surrounded by all these health nerds like you and I.
Yeah,
It just becomes your normal life. But I think, like you said, I love that you do educational parts for your superfoods as well, because so many people don't know. And I mean, the food industry is so misleading too, where they talk about, natural ingredients, natural flavoring, and a consumer that isn't educated around it is probably just like, oh, natural, that sounds good.
yeah,
Like, as an example, I was in Florida at an airport a couple of weeks ago. And when I travel, I always try to find at least like a juice, like even a fresh juice that is bottled or something like that, or an apple or a banana or something that I can eat healthy without having all of these processed things in my diet when I travel. So I was looking at this one store, they had smoothies. I was like, oh my God, they have smoothies. It's perfect. And it even said 100% clean ingredients. And I actually took a photo because it freaked me out. And I went to the counter and I asked the ladies, do your smoothies have sugar in it? And they said, yeah, it's in the base. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, how can you say it's 100% natural when there is sugar in it? Like, sugar is not natural. I mean, it is natural, but it's not a plant, that you eat that gives you vitamins and nutrients. So I think it's just people just, you don't know when you don't know. When you don't know what's good, how can you take better decisions? So I love that you do that with the products that you sell.
I mean that's the I think one of the tips, like people ask me often like, oh, what is the number one tip in order to like start eating better? And I always advise people to start looking at ingredients list instead of the nutritional table, because it's really about like the ingredient list actually really tells you what you're eating, and that's just so much more important than like how many calories or something that's in the table. And
Absolutely.
I think that's such a big thing on our mixes, which is I think still very unique, weirdly enough. But the ingredients that we have on the front of the packaging, that's literally everything that's in there. So we don't add stevia, we don't add fillers, natural flavors, preservatives. I don't know what else like sometimes brands add, but like it's just like it's very simple, 5, 6 ingredients. That's it. So it's mind blowing, right? And even I find it really, I mean, I go sometimes to like these trade shows and like with all the organic, brands, and then they have like natural flavoring or like natural this flavor. And I go to them and I literally ask them, I'm like, so what is it? Right? Because it can be a lot of different things. I'm like,
Mm,
what is that made of? Like, I want to know what it is. They often work with food scientists and they don't even really know. So
yeah.
it's just this really, there's just this disconnect. And I'm just like a really big believer is you should eat real foods. And if you do that, like it's, like you're gonna be fine and you're actually gonna be full and you're not gonna be super hungry if you just start eating real things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think the less packaging, the more natural. Like you don't need to package a carrot or
No,
an apple.
nope.
It's enough as it is. So maybe let's touch a little bit on superfoods in general. Like what are superfoods and why are they so important
Yeah.
in our diet?
So superfoods in general are just super high in natural vitamins and minerals, and they can benefit your health. That's like the easy explanation. Like I said before, it's really about this convenience factor that's I think really important right now nowadays for people. So it has, it's like it's powder. You can add it to anything you eat. Even when you're traveling, like the greens, you can just pop them in the water and you have like an instant green juice, which is it's just can just be really handy. And then, I mean, the reason, like everyone knows you have to eat more fruit and vegetables, but like if you look at the stats, like the 9 out of 10 people they just don't do it. We're all too busy. We're running around, and superfoods are just like a really easy alternative now. And I think that's like one really big factor of why it makes sense to start using them. And I think then two other things really happened the last 10, 20 years is the soil that our fruit and vegetables grow is just not as rich in vitamins and minerals anymore. So therefore we actually need to eat even more fruit and vegetables than we would have to do 20, 40 years ago. Plus supply chains are longer. Once you buy something even when in a Whole Foods, like the apple that you're buying there, like when did it actually come from the tree? And every single day it's losing some nutrients. Doesn't mean don't eat the apple. Like do eat the apple, but like there's going to be less healthy stuff in there than once you eat it like like the day after it has been picked from a tree. And then I think one other thing is like the way we live our lives. Like it's so fast paced. It's like everyone has so much more stress. There's more toxins around us. There's like we have phones, and it's just we actually put our bodies also through a lot more than we used to do in the past. So like looking at all these factors, it's actually only saying like eat more really good stuff in order to actually take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you said, I always think that when I buy bananas back home, and they're often still a little green or like not 100% ripe. And that's, it's great. It's amazing that we have bananas. It's one of my favorite fruits, but in the end, it's not as tasty and nutrient dense as if you eat it in a tropical country where you can just, basically get it from the tree.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
So one thing that always keeps me personally a little skeptical around superfoods. I mean, I use superfoods as well, but sometimes I'm like, do I really need to have this one superfood that comes from the other side of the planet, in
Mhm.
terms of ecological footprint? And can we eat more local plants as well that are very high in nutrients as well? Or like what do you say around eating superfoods from the other side of the world versus like eating more fruits and vegetables that are local to where you are from?
So we source directly from our farmers. I think that's one first important thing to point out. We have a bunch of our farmers also within Europe and the US. So that's especially for like the greens, spirulina, chlorella, wheatgrass, barley grass. Our blueberries, for example, come from Finland. So the things we can source locally, we do source locally, and then we don't just, because a lot of wheatgrass just comes from China, and we absolutely don't do that. So we're like
Mm.
very mindful about that. And then I'm not even talking about the quality difference yet, because you can't compare a wheatgrass from Germany, for example, with a wheatgrass from China. It's different color, different smell, different nutrient profile, even though they're both certified organic wheatgrass. So I think even when you buy something out of a package, questioning where something comes from, I think it's a really, really important thing, which doesn't really happen that much. Then we have other products like, or other things like, for example, matcha, which we get from Japan, where it's also originally from. And same for acai berries, maqui berries, they come from South America, from Brazil. So we get the ingredients where they're originally from. And then, I mean, it's kind of like what you said with, for example, the bananas, right? Like that you buy in a supermarket. I mean, they've traveled a super long way as well. And if you think about how heavy like just a fresh banana is that is like being shipped to wherever it's going, takes a lot more footprint than just the powder, because the powders are actually how it normally goes. It's like the farmers, first of all, they harvest them once the fruit is actually ripe, so it's actually super healthy to eat. Then normally within 1 or 2 days they're naturally dried, and then they're milled into powder, and that is then shipped to us. So it's actually a very efficient way, and a very natural way too, because if you go to Asia and they have too many mangoes, they're gonna dry them, and then so that they can eat them later, to actually use these products.
Yeah, I've never looked at it that way. It makes so much more sense.
And the cool thing is, like, you buy actually some of using some of these products, you're really supporting a lot of local farmers. So we, for example, get our baobab from Senegal, and we grew a lot the last year. And like we're talking to our supplier, and they're like, "Hey, it's only women that are taking the baobab from the tree, and like they have a lot more work now too." So by actually buying superfoods, but they're actually properly sourced, you also can have a very positive impact and stimulate economies in parts of the world where it's really needed.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the most important thing here is just transparency. When you ask the brand and it's transparent where things grow and where things come from. I love that about your brand because basically, you're the source, you know everything about it. But I feel so many times when we buy superfoods, we don't know where it's grown. We may know where it's produced, but doesn't mean that it actually grew there, right? So
100%. And that's, I mean, that's just not just for superfoods, but with anything, if you
everything.
like
Yeah.
cashews, or if you like anything. I find it so fascinating, right? People go to a farmer's market and they 100% want to know who grew it, where it's from, not even to the state, but like to the town and like everything. And then the moment they walk into a supermarket and something is in a package, and they don't ask one question,
Right.
right? And it's just so fascinating to me. So that's, I mean, that's really something we try to create a lot of awareness around. So even if something is packaged, like just where, like do know at least the countries where something is from. So we put on the back of our cans, it actually shows the countries where the ingredients are sourced from. And then on the website, we're sharing more and more information around it. And it's, we visited now most of our farms, and we call them always our farmers, like, or like we call them your superheroes, because those are really the people that make the magic happen, and they're just like the most inspirational people. 20, like for example, our spirulina and chlorella farmer supplier, he we visited him, and 20, 30 years ago he started, everyone thought he completely lost it. Like, why would you grow this? Like, what is this? It tastes bad. Like, what, like whatever. And I mean, right now it's just so cool in order to like work with that person that, like created this. It's just such an amazing product. And, like we can actually help him grow too, and like share his story with the world as well. Because I mean, it's a lot of work as well to grow something. Like even we have hemp protein in our skinny protein mix. We asked our hemp farmers like, hey, what do you want to share with consumers? And he's just like, well, just before you throw something away because you think it's bad or something, just think about like all the work, like 2 to 3 months of work, or sometimes even longer, that we put in to actually grow this plant.
Mm.
Which I thought was so powerful. And it's like, wow, okay, I'm total like obsessed with farmers. They're the coolest people.
So beautiful. And yeah, it just shows how disconnected we are, that we treat food as like an object that has no meaning.
Yeah,
But it's really someone has put a lot of work into growing that vegetable or fruit.
definitely.
Love that. So let's talk a little bit about personal development. I am sure that over the course of building your super, you've gone through lots of challenges and things you've learned. Was there a specific transformational experience that changed everything in your life?
I wouldn't say it has been really one specific thing. We started the company, what is it now? Like 3.5 years ago. And I think that whole process of starting something from scratch, and now, having a team of 14 people with an office in Berlin, an office in LA. We just raised Series A, and that in itself has just been like such a growth process. Before that, I studied. I did my master's in London, and I did some internships, and then we started the company. So I've never, like, I've really always feel like I've had to learn from scratch.
Mm,
And I think that has been like also the part I love the most. Like every single day I feel like I'm doing something else, I'm learning something new. And I think that's what I really love about what I do, besides inspiring and educating people. That's like, I mean, that's just a side note. Like every single, we have these exclusive Facebook groups with our customers, and I still go in there every single day and like answer questions, because I want to understand and connect with our customers, what their pain points are and how we can help them better. But it has been really, really interesting actually. And to kind of like learn to be okay with being uncomfortable,
mm.
that you don't know what is exactly happening. And I think that's the one big thing. And I think if you want to grow, it's like you have to be okay with not knowing and being uncomfortable and kind of doing weird things, and see what happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think it's just the simple explanation of leaving your comfort zone. It's when you get uncomfortable because you're leaving the comfort. So it's normal that anytime you want to grow, something has to happen. Like something is going to feel new and you don't know what's going to happen. So I love that. Do you have, apart from this, do you have another like big lesson that you learned in the last couple of years?
I really think it's listening. It's so cliche actually, but like listening to your gut. I think I originally was really listening sometimes more to my head, but then I had this feeling of not sure. And it's just, if I learned one thing, if you have a feeling that something like doesn't really feel right, don't do it. If something feels good, but maybe your head is like, no, rational, like just very rational, like, no, I shouldn't do this. It's like, just for whatever reason, like at least for me, my feeling is just always right. uh
Yeah,
and I
it's not just you.
Okay. That's good. But I think that's a huge lesson I've definitely learned. It's like, just really listen to your feelings sometimes more than to your head, and do your own thing. I think that's also really, really important. Like, we originally started in Europe, mostly. We had the office in Berlin, and our biggest market was Germany, but we saw that 10-15% of our orders were coming from the US. And, like we had a couple angel investors in there, and they were like, no, you have to grow way bigger before you can go to the US. And we just kind of had this feeling of like, no, like we need to go. I think it partially had to do is that we both studied in the US. Like we both were on a tennis scholarship in the US, and that's actually where we met as well, Michael and me. But then I don't know, even though nobody believed in us and nobody supported that we actually would expand to the US, we were both like, no, it's fine. Like we're just gonna do, whatever we want to do. And we just had this feeling, and we did it. And now looking back, I mean, it was not, from a business perspective, it was not the most logical decision to do, but it turned out like one of the best decisions we've ever made, by just listening to what we really believed. And it's just really important, especially when starting a business, is I think you really want to you have this feeling of like, oh, like there's a way to do it. And I actually have been talking about this the last couple of days. It's like, I feel everyone is just doing something, and there is not one correct way of doing it. So to just really believe in yourself, and then going out in the world and do your own thing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one thing is, your mind telling you what you should do and you shouldn't do. But then there's also other people involved, which is even more scary when other people tell us we should or shouldn't do certain things that hold us back. So I love that you mentioned that. And I mean, yeah, I've just always done what I wanted to do too without listening to, well, sometimes I did listen to my fears, probably a bit too much, but I think it's just a great reminder for everyone to just trust themselves a bit more and just know that we're always supported by our feelings, and our feelings are our gut feeling, which, we can call it, is really always right, not just for you and me.
No, I totally agree. And I think especially, at least what I've seen, I think especially as girls, sometimes we tend to be more like, we want to stay safe and not be like too weird. And I think it's just like, it's okay to just, I always say it's a good thing to be weird, because that means you're actually doing your own thing.
Yeah, I love that. It's a good thing to be weird.
I'm like, whenever people think I'm weird, I'm like, okay, it's all good.
I'm on the right path.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. So at the Glow community, we love to travel and kind of experience the world, see different cultures, and I'm sure you do too. Have you ever had a travel experience that really changed things for you, or where you learned a big lesson?
Definitely. So after after my undergrad, I started traveling for 3 months through Asia, and just doing that already like completely changed me. Actually, I was always like pretty. I used to dress up, like buy more. I always just had a lot of stuff for some reason. And then for the first time, I was for 3 months with like one backpack, 11 kilos, which was not a lot. It was like a couple t-shirts,
Wow.
a couple pants. And then I went to Indonesia and Thailand. And in Thailand, I also did a 10-day Vipassana. I was like about 21 years old at the time. And Vipassana is basically a 10-day silent retreat where you just meditate for 10 days. You don't talk to anyone besides the head monk. And I think that has been a complete life-changing experience for me. I never really meditated before, so I totally didn't know where I got myself into. I just had this, I don't know, I came across it and I was like, yes, I want to do that. So that was, and I think that's like very specific to me. I don't always think things through before I do them. And that's true for personal life as well as for business life. Because I don't believe you have to think about problem 100 if you didn't even start yet.
I love that.
So I think that was one really big thing for me. And just in general, like after that, I've traveled another time for 3 months. I was in one of the best countries that changed me the most, I think, is Myanmar. I can only recommend people going there. But just, we were there in communities of people who had never really seen tourists or didn't even know what tourism was. They thought we were looking for gold,
Wow.
which we weren't. But, and those people, I mean, most of them didn't even have electricity. I mean, they lived a very simple life, but they were the happiest people I've ever met. And I think that was such a big realization for me, because I think us in the Western world, if people don't have certain things, we always like feel bad for them, and they think, we think they need to live their life the way we live our life because we think it's
Yeah.
better. But I would say, they were just really, really happy, and they didn't have a lot. They were the most generous people I've ever met. Like, we would pass by and they would like run into trees and start cutting coconuts and wanting to give them to us. And I was just like, wow, like I have all these things, and I like, like we tend to keep, like kind of like keep them for ourselves.
Mm.
And I think sometimes people have a lot of stuff and are afraid of losing them, and they're just like actually have very little and they all want to give it away. And I thought it was just such a big lessons there to just see that. And you're like, oh, it's not about what you have, right? It's literally like about living your life and just being happy. And it's like the other things, like they're just like certain factors you can deal with, but they don't determine how good your life is.
I love that. I've traveled to Asia many times, and I think I feel the same thing around how people are, happy with what they have,
Yeah.
and usually way happier than people back home, which
Yeah,
is kind of shocking.
they're really alive. I feel Asia is very alive, and like people still live a lot more, I think, in communities. I think that's a big part of it. And then
Yeah.
even if you have the small, like even in India, right? If you have the smallest shop on like some street, like that's like the biggest thing, and they're so proud of having their little shop, even though it's selling the same thing as the other 10 shops next to them. Like it doesn't matter. And I don't know, I always feel extremely alive when I'm there. I think like things are like bustling and hustling and it's like messy, but like people are really like living life, and I think that's really, I really enjoy it personally.
I love that. Okay. So before we wrap up, a couple of quick questions for you. And the first one is, I would like to know what living a glowing life means to you personally.
I think for me, it's really about learn, like first of all, like from on a personal level, I really love learning. And then a really big mission of myself is, and that's the most important thing, is inspiring and really educating people on plant-based living. Like I really made that my mission in my life. And I just know once people start eating differently, like everything, it's like this ripple effect. Everything will start to change. And I really do believe that that is for me, like being able to share that with people and seeing their, like how their life changes down the line. I think that really gives me my glow in my life.
So beautiful. And so many people need to hear all of that from you.
Yeah.
Do you have some sort of non-negotiable self-care routine or something you do every day?
Not every single day, because my life is just super well, I brush my teeth every day, but it's I try to meditate, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes every single day. But I'm not perfect either. But that's, I think, something that really does help me a lot. And then in general, I think it's for me really about just finding time for myself, right? Because I'm always like, then I'm in the morning, I'm on calls with Europe, and then I'm running around, and then this event. And I think just like finding these times of doing things for yourself, whether it's reading a book. I love going to yoga. I'm training for a marathon, which I've never done before. So I
Wow.
love challenging myself there. But it's just like just making time for myself. I think that's what I really try to do every day. And I think that's also what I do in food, right? So I personally love, like I need to have like a little bit of time in the morning to take, make a nice smoothie or an oatmeal, taking time to have nice lunch and dinner. I think those are actually really my non-negotiables. But I think looking now, I think that's what I always do. I think making time to sit down and really enjoy food, and that's also often within company, to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I think I count my breakfast as part of my self-care routine too, because it's just something I have to do every day and it makes me so happy.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, food is just also, it's really nourishing, right? And it makes such a, even the way you eat it makes such a difference. I think we so often like eat, we don't even know that we're eating, or we're eating when we're super stressed. And I mean, when you're super stressed, like your digestion doesn't even really work properly. And Even what is, I think, one of the most fascinating things I've ever learned is like if you prepare your own food, but while you're preparing your food, your digestion actually already starts,
Oh, I did not know that.
which is so interesting. And it like kind of your body gets like ready to digest food. And I was like, oh, like it just like it totally makes sense.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite healthy food?
Well, that's definitely our mixes.
Which one?
I really love the super green mix and the forever beautiful mix. Those are like my two go-tos. I use skinny protein also quite a lot, but I think it's really for me making sure I get enough greens in. And then the forever beautiful mix is just full with berries and chia seeds, which just tastes so good. Even just in like water, it's like kind of like a beauty water. So it's I can
Mm,
really recommend trying that.
definitely have to try those. What is your favorite book that you think everyone should read?
I recently read, and I can really recommend it, You're a Badass. I love that book. And if you're into ecom, I can really recommend reading .com Secrets. I think it's a great book as well.
.com Secrets. Okay, we will put those two books in the show notes. What are three things that you're grateful for today?
I'm really grateful that I was able to run this morning. I'm for some whatever reason, like I sometimes I'm injured, like whether it's like it was my hip or previously something else. I was just super happy that I could actually run. I'm also really grateful that I have like crazy day today, like the podcast, and I'm speaking today at an event as well. So I'm just really, really grateful that people are actually listening to what I have to share. I think that's amazing. And the third thing is that I'm really grateful that I'm in Venice, where mostly the sun shines. Not today, unfortunately, but it's just I'm just very grateful that I get to live here at this time.
Sounds amazing. What would you say is one thing everyone can do now for more health in their life?
I think I'm gonna stick with what I said before. Is like start reading your ingredient labels, and
Mm,
if you don't know what certain things are, start looking them up. Be really like just get really interested of what you're actually putting into your body. And then what they can do tomorrow is maybe they can go to yoursuper.com and check out our mixes and our plant-based eating course. I think those, I mean, and that's the other thing, right? To start eating more plants. I think that's like, I mean, I always say when it grows in nature, like it just cannot be bad for you.
yeah, and we will share all your links in the show notes, and you can actually order your superfoods with 15% off when you use the coupon code super-martina. So we'll put that in the show notes too. And is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners today?
No, I think I really talked about a lot of cool stuff actually today. I'm in general like if anyone like even if you're starting a business or whether it's health questions, like join our also our, we can also link those up at like one of our Facebook groups. I'm always happy to help and like most important thing is just to do what you want to do, right? I think people tend to ask me, it's like, oh, how do you start a business? And it's literally just like, just do it. Don't think about all the things you have to do or all the things that can come up. And I think it applies not just to starting a business, but to anything you want to do. Like just go do it, and then you can deal with all these other things, like when they actually are a problem or an issue or something that pops up.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell us where people can find you online?
So it's on yoursuper.com. And then on Instagram and Facebook, we're at Your Superfoods. And the Facebook group that's where I'm pretty active in as well, that's open, is called Superfoods and Healthy Lifestyle.
And we will put that link to the group in the show notes as well. So everyone can go join your group, ask you all the questions around superfoods. Amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Kristel. It was amazing to talk to you about all these superfoods and powerful plants that we have on our planet. I really love that you're sharing your message with your own brand. I'm definitely going to check out your superfoods for sure. And yeah, it's been so great to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
What a beautiful episode to learn more about health and how you can own your health and just take everything to the next levels with the foods you actually put in your body. I just ordered my superfood mixes from Your Super, and I'm really excited to try them. I absolutely loved this conversation with Kristel. And if you loved it too, please subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review so that even more people can listen to these inspirational stories that we shared today. For everything we mentioned in today's episode, you can go check out the show notes at martinafink.com/podcast/64. I would love to connect with you on social media. You can find me at Martina Glows on Instagram and Facebook. And I love hearing from people how they like the episodes and which one they like the most, what they've learned from it. So send me a DM there. If there's anyone in your life that you think could benefit from this episode, please send it to them right now. Thank you so much for being here today and for listening to our conversations. We hope that this inspires you to live an even more glowing life. You deserve to feel healthy, confident, empowered, and beautiful.